Bonjour, French 1 student. Here is your teaching video for Lesson 8, Parts D and E, page 110 and 111 in your textbook. We're going to start with some review. First, I want to review the verbs that we've learned so far in this unit. The first verb you learned was être. Remember, être means to be. You learned it first because it is the most commonly used verb in both French and English. And it's irregular, which means it's one that you must memorize. Hopefully right now, you can fill in the forms of être. So, je suis, tu es, il or elle est, nous sommes, vous êtes, and il and elle pluriel sont. S'il vous plaît, répétez être, je suis, tu es, il est, nous sommes, vous êtes, ils sont. You also learned a category of verbs, which were the regular ER verbs, right? And so what was nice about these is you don't have to memorize each individual verb, but you just have to remember the pattern. So to get to that pattern, we always start with our infinitive. You take off the ER, which gives you your stem, and then to the stem you add, depending upon the subject of the sentence, to the stem you add an E for je, an ES for tu, an E for il or elle or one person's name, an ONS for nous, a EZ to the stem for vous, and for il or elle pluriel or multiple people's names, you add an ENT. And remember, GER verbs like nager and voyager, okay, you add an EONS in the new form. So again, those verbs were nice because you didn't have to memorize each verb individually. You can now conjugate any of these regular ER verbs. Today, we have a new verb, and it is an irregular verb, which means it's one that you have to memorize. Faire means to do or to make. And the forms are je fais, tu fais, il, elle fait. It sounds the same, but it's spelled a little differently. It ends in a T. Nous faisons, vous faites, and il and elle pluriel font. S'il vous plaît, répétez faire, je fais, tu fais, elle fait, nous faisons, vous faites, elles font. So you would use this if you were talking about like making a sandwich or something like that. There are also some expressions in French that we wouldn't use faire with, to do or to make, but they do in French. So there are kind of 4 of them. We have faire un match, which means to play a game. Faire une promenade, which means to go for a walk. Faire un voyage, which means to take a trip. And faire attention, which means to pay attention. So if I wanted to say that you, plural, all of you, are not paying attention, it would be vous ne faites pas attention. So this is this new irregular verb that you need to memorize, right? Because irregular means memorize. The last thing that we want to kind of review here are questions. And remember, whether we're asking yes or no or information questions, our format we can really kind of say is the same. It's our question word, est-ce que, subject, verb, ... for whatever else is in that sentence. And the reason I say that we can use this for both information questions and yes and no questions is, remember, in a yes or no question, we just wouldn't have, right, a question word. And so the format of est-ce que subject verb is true for yes or no questions. So we can really kind of just remember this one format for all of our questions. We do have to remember that que becomes QU apostrophe before a vowel or a silent H. So you have to know those question words then, and we went over this the other day. Okay, so the question word for who is qui, what is quand, what is que, when is quand, where is où, why is pourquoi. And remember, oftentimes we're going to answer a pourquoi question with parce que, which is because. How is como, to whom is à qui, and again remember we should see an à in our answer. About whom is de qui, and again remember we should see a de in our answer. For whom is pour qui, and again we should see a pour in our answer. And with whom is avec qui, and again we should see an avec in our answer. At what time is à quelle heure. So these are our question words. Si vous répétez qui, que, quand, où, pourquoi, comment, à qui, de qui, pour qui, avec qui, à quelle heure. Now, we reviewed this because I'm going to refer to this as, okay, the long way to ask questions. But French people are just like you. If there's a short way or a long way to do something, typically most Americans are going to choose the short way. There is also a shorter way to ask questions. That shorter way is using subject-verb inversion. Now, inversion kind of means to reverse. So hopefully looking at that title, calling it subject-verb inversion, that tells you that we're going to reverse the order of the subject and the verb. So what's our format for this? Okay. With this, we're also going to leave out the est-ce que. So if we look at this format that we just kind of reviewed, right, that it's question word, est-ce que, subject, verb. The format of my questions using subject verb inversion, I still have my question word out in the front. Right? Your book calls it an interrogative expression. But I'm going to leave out the est-ce que, so that's going to be gone, and I'm going to reverse the order of the subject and the verb. So what's going to come next is my verb, a hyphen, my subject, and then the dot, dot, dot for whatever else is in that sentence. So this is quite a bit shorter, okay? And so I'm usually going to refer to this as the short way to ask questions, okay? And I call this one usually the long way. Now, on tests and quizzes, I still expect you to write your questions the long way. The short way will be for some extra credit. So if you can do questions on tests or quizzes a second time, the short way you'll get extra credit. So the other thing about this is if my verb ends in an E, or ends in a, we'll just even say vowel, and if my subject starts with a vowel, then we're going to put a hyphen T in between them. And we really want to say that this has to be a subject pronoun. I can't use a person's name. So I have to use either a je, tu, il, elle, nous, vous, il, or elle pluriel as my pronoun that I invert. So let's take a look at an example. So I have pourquoi est-ce que tu étudies le français, right? Why are you studying French? So I'm going to, again, leave out est-ce que, so that's going to disappear. I'm going to reverse the order of the subject and the verb. So my question becomes pourquoi. My verb comes next, which is étudier. I need the hyphen, then my subject, which is tu, and then the rest of my sentence. So instead of the question being pourquoi est-ce que tu étudies le français, the question is pourquoi étudies-tu le français? It's definitely a little shorter and a little quicker to say. So let's take a look at faire and subject-verb inversion in your textbook. S'il vous plaît, ouvrez vos livres à la page 110. Le verbe faire. Faire, to do, make, is an irregular verb. It is used in many French expressions. Note the forms of faire in the present tense. Again, we're going to say these first, and then I'll do the sentence. Okay? So, s'il vous plaît, répétez faire. Je fais. Je fais un sandwich. Tu fais. Qu'est-ce que tu fais maintenant? Il fait. Elle fait. Qu'est-ce que ton copain fait samedi? Nous faisons. Nous faisons une pizza. Vous faites. Qu'est-ce que vous faites ici? Ils font. Elles font. Qu'est-ce qu'elles font pour la boum? Working through the translation of these, right? So we have, I am making a sandwich. What are you doing now? What is your friend doing Saturday? We make a pizza. What are you doing here? What are they doing for the party? And then we see these expressions avec faire. Again, these are expressions that in English we wouldn't use the verb to do or to make for with, but in French they do. S'il vous plaît, répétez faire un match. Faire un match. Mes cousins font un match de tennis. Faire une promenade. Faire une promenade. Caroline fait une promenade avec Olivier. Faire un voyage. Faire un voyage. Ma copine fait un voyage en France. Faire attention. Faire attention. Je fais attention quand le prof parle. Working through what those sentences are saying. My cousins play a game of tennis. Caroline goes for a walk with Oliver. My female friend takes a trip in France. I pay attention when the teacher talks. So let's take a look at exercise 9, La Boum de Léa. Leah's friends are helping her prepare food for a party. Use the verb faire to say what everyone is doing. So example, je and une crêpe. So the form of faire that matches je is fait, so it's je fais une crêpe. So again, I'd like you to say these and then you'll hear to see whether you've said them correctly. Numéro 1. Nous faisons une salade. Numéro 2. Tu fais une salade de fruits. Numéro 3. Vous faites une tarte. Numéro 4. Cécile et Marina font un gâteau. Numéro 5. Christine fait une pizza. Numéro 6. Marc fait un sandwich. Numéro 7. Patrick et Thomas font une omelette. Numéro 8. Pierre et Karine font une quiche. Take a look at exercise 10. Qu'est-ce qu'ils font? Read the descriptions below and say what the people are doing. Use the verb faire and an expression from the list. So the sentence in your book as the prompt is to help you decide which one of these choices in blue you will make. So look at our example. Madame Dumont est en Chine. So if she's in China, then she must be taking a trip. So elle fait un voyage. So again, remember, we're going to use the same subject in our sentence as the subject in our book. And the form of faire, so it's, remember, je fais, tu fais, il or elle or one person's name, fait, nous faisons, vous faites, and il and elle pluriel font. So I'll read the sentence, then I'd like you to try to give the answer, and then you'll hear me give you confirmation. So numéro 1, Léa travaille dans un restaurant. Elle fait une pizza. 2. Nous sommes en ville. Nous faisons une promenade. Numéro 3. Céline et Jean-Paul jouent au tennis. Ils font un match. 4. Je suis dans la cuisine. Je fais une pizza. 5. Marc est dans le train Paris-Nice. Il fait un voyage. 6. Vous jouez au volley. Vous faites un match. Numéro 7. Je suis dans le parc. Je fais une promenade. Numéro 8. Monsieur Lambert visite Tokyo. Il fait un voyage. Et 9. Nous écoutons le prof. Nous faisons attention. L'interrogation avec inversion. Learning about language. In conversational French, questions are usually formed with est que. However, when the subject of the sentence is a pronoun, French speakers often use inversion. That is, they invert or reverse the order of the subject pronoun and the verb. Regular order, vous parlez français, the subject followed by the verb. Inversion, parlez-vous anglais, the verb followed by the subject. The pairs of questions below ask the same thing. Compare the position of the subject pronouns. S'il vous plaît, répétez. Est-ce que tu parles anglais? Parles-tu anglais? Est-ce que vous habitez ici? Habitez-vous ici? Où est-ce que nous dînons? Où dînons-nous? Où est-ce qu'il est? Où est-il? Inverted questions are formed according to the pattern. So they kind of separated it, but again, I say that we just need one format to remember, because if it's a yes or no question, remember, I won't have an interrogative expression or a question word, right? We use the word question word here. So we really can just remember one format, and we don't have to remember two. So for yes or no questions, we see verb / subject pronoun. And for the information question, we see interrogative expression, verb / subject pronoun. S'il vous plaît, répétez, voyagez-vous souvent? Avec qui travaillez-vous demain? Right, so do you travel often? With whom are you working tomorrow? In inversion, the verb and subject pronoun are connected by a hyphen. So you have to have a hyphen between your verb and your subject pronoun. Observation. In inversion, liaison is required before il, elle, and il, elle. If a verb in the singular ends on a vowel, the letter T is inserted after the verb so that liaison can occur. S'il vous plaît, répétez, où travaille-t-il? Où travaille-t-elle? Avec qui dîne-t-il? Avec qui dîne-t-elle? So again, what they're talking about here is the French don't pronounce two vowels together very well, so they put that T in there for pronunciation reasons. Exercice 11, conversation. Ask your classmates a few questions using inversion. So we have où habitez, right? And in the long way, this would be où est-ce que tu habites, right? And so we leave est-ce que out, and we reverse the order of tu and habite, so it becomes où habites-tu. So I'd like you to ask these questions. We won't worry about kind of answering them, okay? But we will ask these questions using subject-verb inversion. So numéro 1, à quelle heure est dîner? À quelle heure dînes-tu? 2, à quelle heure regardez la télé? À quelle heure regardes-tu la télé? Numéro 3, avec qui en parlez français? Avec qui parles-tu français? 4, à qui en téléphonez souvent? À qui téléphones-tu souvent? 5, comment en nager? Comment nages-tu? 6, avec qui en étudier? Avec qui étudies-tu? 7 où, and jouer aux jeux vidéo. Où joues-tu aux jeux vidéo? Et 8 comment and chanter. Comment chantes-tu? So pronunciation, la voyelle. The vowel sound represented by the letter U does not exist in English. To say super, first say the French word si, then round your lips as if to whistle and say si with rounded lips. Now say super. Then round your lips as you say the first syllable. Super. S'il vous plaît, répétez. Super. Tu étudies. Bien sûr. Lucie. Luc. Tu étudies avec Lucie. So your homework is exercises 10 and 11. Right? We did exercise 10 out loud. Again, you're going to use the same subject as the subject of the sentence in your book, the correct form of the verb faire, and then something from the box. So in number 1, instead of saying Leah, I can just say Al, right, and save myself a little bit of time. Fait. And then Leah travaille dans un restaurant, so she works in a restaurant. Of the choices there, she's going to be making une pizza. So you're going to write out those sentences for the 9 of them. Exercise 11. For this one, I want you to write the questions twice. Okay, first time the long way with the esque in it, and then the second time the short way using subject verb inversion. And I don't want you to answer them. What I want you to do lastly is I want you to translate them to English. So for number 1, you would write à quelle heure est-ce que tu dînes? Then you're going to write it with subject verb inversion, so you're going to leave the esque out, and you're going to reverse the order of tu and dîne. So it's going to be à quelle heure dînes-tu? And then I want you to translate what this is saying. So this is asking, at what time do you eat dinner? So that's what you're going to write on your paper for exercise 11. Au revoir, à demain.